Poducer.
So we're at the music garage.
Are we started?
We're in it.
Okay, shit. I was still tweaking.
No, you're fine.
You know, because I think we might have clipped a little bit.
Oh, okay. No,
All right.
No worries either way. So yeah, we're at the music garage.
Yeah.
Which I looked on Google Maps. Didn't they change? They changed the name to Smash.
So a year ago, the music garage kind of building got sold to new owners, and it got kind of split into two separate companies. It's the music building and Smash Studios now. So they have like hourly rehearsal rooms that you can rent that's managed by Smash Studios, and the monthly kind of studio rooms like the one we're in right now is owned by or managed by the music building. So it's confusing when people, like, if you look it up, it used to be called the Music Garage, but now it's Smash Studios and the Music Building. So
yeah, it confused me for a second.
Yeah.
So how long have you been here for?
So this is the third studio that we've had, at like a monthly studio that we've leased out here. And the first one, which was up on the 5th floor, was back in 2012, I think. So I think like going on 13 years we've had studios here. This is definitely the biggest studio. We always try to kind of move up and upgrade to something a little bit.
I was gonna say this one's
nicer.
This one's pretty sick. You can't see the full room in here, but you have like a special entrance.
Yeah, we have our own. We're the only studio with our own private entrance, and it's got, you know, two sides of windows on the corner, nice ceilings, extra storage and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, so you can open this and there's windows?
Well, it is a window, but it's like a glass tiled window right there. So you get to experience a little bit of sunlight, you know, instead of being locked in this room all day like I normally am.
Yeah, no,
you
the
get
light is
a little bit of vitamin D might blast through the windows here and there.
Yeah. Dude, so we can talk. You do a lot of stuff. You're an Ableton certified, what is the proper
Ableton Certified
Trainer?
Yeah, that's the official title. So if you go to ableton.com and look up certified trainers, you'll find me on the website, you know.
And you were just here with someone doing a session. You said you've been doing sessions all day, so we can get into all of that.
Yeah.
There's the porn and chicken, which is famous to me. But we'll save that. I always start, I guess I'll do an intro. I feel like I'm out of my element. This is the first time we've done this outside of the studio. I mean, I've done some festivals and stuff, but this is nice because we can just record straight to the DAW.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Poducer, the podcast for producers. Today we're joined by Orville Kline.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me here. I ran into you at it was a show, and then I saw you at another event, CEMC, shout out. And I was like, dude, I've been seeing you like play shows for so long, like at the Mid and all those porn and chicken days. So
yeah,
it was cool to like meet you and get to talk to you for a second. And now we're doing this like a week later.
Hey, that's how it works, man. You put just the universe connected us, you know, to happen to say what up at that show down on the south side. And yeah, Chicago, like shout out to Chicago Electronic Music Conference, shout out to Ableton Live for putting on the other Ableton Move workshop that we were at earlier too. So
yeah. So I always start the podcast with like icebreakers, like fun questions. And the fun question is, what was your first concert that you went to?
The first concert that I remember going to, and I think it might have been like my first actual one, was Aerosmith at the World Music Center in Tinley Park. Now it's like what is it called now? There's like it's Hollywood. Is it some type of amphitheater? Right?
Yeah.
Used to be the World Music Center or something. I forgot, but it was Aerosmith in 1994.
Dude.
I remember that one pretty clear. That was like a big. I think I would have been like 8 years old or something like that, and that was my first concert that I remember.
Did you go with your parents?
My dad took me.
Dude, Aerosmith, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember, was it like a big, so it was at an amphitheater, so it was a big show. Was it like really loud and just?
I don't remember like how loud it was. I do remember, you know, I have like flashbacks of the actual concert, being in the crowd and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like I was I guess I was big into Aerosmith when I was 8. That was my thing. Like, so it was cool to make that one of my first ones. So
Are you a rocker? You got the hair for it.
yeah, you know,
Are you
so
a punk?
so my you know, like my musical journeys, I started playing saxophone when I was in like 4th grade. I still have my alto sax. It's like chilling in the shelf up there. I bust it out for fun and jokes every once in a while because I suck at it now. But then eventually my parents got me a guitar, started taking guitar lessons, and that led to me less focused on the saxophone and the school band stuff. And like when I was in middle school, leading into high school, our friends got together and started our own bands, and I played guitar and bass and drums and keyboards and stuff like that. And I was in a whole bunch of bands in high school. This logo, this tattoo right here is like the logo from my first band, the first like major band I was really focused on, called American Made Monsters. You can kind of see like the AMM insignia in the logo. So that was like a big part of my musical journey, was like being in the bands. And you know, I wrote the songs and played guitar, was lead singer and stuff like that. And that was like,
really? Wow. What kind of music specifically was that one?
So this band, it was like metal, industrial-ish, I guess, if you had to say, or hardcore metal, industrial. Like the big influences back then were bands like Fear Factory, Static X, AV System of a Down, and like White Zombie and stuff like that too. So like that was a big influence. And we also, like, all our friends were also, they started side bands and stuff like that. So I was in some punk bands and other metal and other rock things. And I was in some like comedy rock electronic band called Fun Club for a while, stuff like that. So okay. I started off at like in that world. And how I got into like electronics and producing music was I wanted to just be able to record demos for the bands I was in. So I was like, all right, so instead of having to like go to pay another studio, let's just figure out how to do it in the bedroom ourselves. So I got a computer, then I got a Pro Tools M-Box, and just kind of figured it out. And that got me like deeper, just like into the world of computer music production stuff. And then also kind of around the same time, I got thrown into my first DJ gig. My parents actually booked me to DJ a New Year's Eve party at their local bar, and when I was 16, and never done it before. It's like, oh, you're in bands, you play music, you can DJ too. It's the same thing, right? I'm like, I guess so. I'll figure it out. So I kind of got thrown into it and figured it out. And
did you have a mixer?
So the first thing I had, it was a Newmark all-in-one CD mix too. So it was like a box that had 2 CD trays in it and a crossfader built in, so you can like mix 2 songs together from CDs. So that was like the first thing that I used back then.
Okay, gotcha.
And the original one I had, I actually sold it to a friend of mine, Joe Vortek, who he still has it, and he turned it into this really cool like steampunk CD player, like put wood panels on it and like all these extra attachments and stuff to make it like this cool steampunk thing. But yeah, so that was so when I was first DJing, like it wasn't, you know, I didn't know any other DJs, and I wasn't going to raves yet, but I was going to punk shows and metal shows and playing all over the place with my bands. And then eventually I started throwing house parties with my friends in high school, like most high school kids do, I think now. I don't know. And then like, oh, I have this DJ equipment. Let's start DJ instead of just having the bands play. Let's also just DJ. I wanted to DJ at the party, so then that like
it's like less people to get out and less equipment.
Yeah, it's easier setup. You know, anyone can just throw in and jump on a DJ versus setting up a whole band. It's a lot more work.
Was there a stigma? Because I know, I mean, I don't know. Now everything is electronic at this point, so there's, you know, like, but did anyone be like, oh, like, what is this DJ crap? Like,
no, not really. Like all my friends, they all were like the metal kids or the punk kids, and I was also like, I had some jock friends too, I guess. Everyone was like about it. No one was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? No, everyone was like, no, this is really cool. And
did you grow up in Chicago? Like,
I grew up just on the south suburbs of Chicago. So like, I grew up in a town called Alsip, which is just like, if you go like all the way as far southwest as you can get to like the Beverly neighborhoods in Chicago, Alsip is like the first town adjacent to it. So it's very Chicago close, but technically not. I didn't like move into Chicago until I was like 21. Then I got my own apartment and like moved out here and stuff like that. And I've been kind of bouncing around a bunch of different spots all over the city since then. So I've been doing the Mohawk for like over 20 years now, and it's just like,
God, you knew I wanted to go to the
It kind of
Mohawk.
like stuck with, that was kind of the part, it came from being like in the metal and the punk bands. There was a few years like back then, before like I full-time committed to it. It was like an on and off thing, but then like since I started DJing, I did it, and people started recognizing me for it. So I just from a branding perspective, it was easier to just keep it, to make yourself more memorable, recognizable, because there's only a handful of Mohawk DJs in Chicago right now. So
You got married with a Mohawk, I saw.
yeah.
Okay, and then also my other question is, where do you put the headphones when
So
you
just put them, they just wear them like this. So like these are these are big like over ear headphones. You can just wear them like this.
Okay, yeah, you got to have a pair that, grabs your head.
Yeah.
I got kind of a small head, so it's like I got to get a pair that's kind of tight.
Yeah, no, all headphones are tight on my big head. So
Maybe we could go into like kind of how you started DJing in Chicago and just like being a mainstay in the scene. Like I feel like you've probably DJed so many bars in Chicago, and then maybe we can lead up to like the Porn and Chicken days. And
yeah, so this is like, my DJ journey, like I said, it started at this random New Year's Eve party at this random bar in the south suburbs, and then from there I started getting, everyone at the bar really liked me. I guess I did a good enough job that they wanted to keep hiring me to do other stuff. So like back then I was like a mobile DJ. I started getting booked for birthday parties and weddings and like random things that would be at this bar, and I was kind of using that to like fund my band and my other like my deeper musical pursuits at the time. And then like eventually once I started like DJing the music that I like getting into house and like back then, like my big influences were like the electro clash movement that happened in the early 2000s. So shout out to like producers like Tommy Sunshine and Felix the House Cat and a lot of, and like Boys Noise and stuff like that. And then Justice came out, like, so those were like the big influence because they had like a sound that was kind of segue between like rock. They had a lot of rock influence, like edgy, distorted sounds, and sometimes a lot of rock remixes that mixed in with like house and techno and electro and stuff like that.
Or like Bloody Beetroots.
Bloody Beetroots, yeah. And this was even like before Bloody Beetroots like came out. Like some of the earlier stuff was like it was an easy segue for me from my rock roots to like to transition. Like, oh, this is cool. I can merge these two worlds together. So as I started to get into that, I started DJing more parties, like, and then MySpace kind of was a thing back then. And
is this pre-blog housey era?
I guess
kind of it's leading.
It's kind of like, yeah, it is like
Bloghouse,
because like going back to like 2003, 2004, 2005, which is like where I'm speaking on right now. It's like there weren't really music. No one was really going to. I don't think like what was the music, the hype machine or whatever was like a thing yet. And like
right.
It was
song
like
is sick. That was way later.
Yeah, so I started throwing parties, and then eventually I started like getting myself out as a local DJ back then. And then I started like a MySpace page and started like putting some stuff out on some music I was working on MySpace. And that led to like more like show DJ. Someone would see me on MySpace, like, hey, do you want to play this party? I'm like, cool. Yeah, for sure. And then like, and like a big like segue, like was someone like on MySpace asked me to play, this girl, had a birthday party. She owned a record label. I forget her name. She's gonna kick my ass if I see her. Anyways, it was like a kind of an industrial dance record label, industrial label that was throwing a party, and I got the book to play this party at this bar called Spot 6, and that led me to start like a resident party over there. And then one of the other DJs that played the same party as me had a party at Smart Bar, and then they asked me to like come in and play at Smart Bar. And then that opened up more doors, and I started with this other party, and I reconnected with some of my other promoter friends like Martin Malefactor, shout out. He had booked my band back like years prior to that, back on the south side to play these punk and metal shows, and then he got into the dance music promotion scene, and I started working with him, and he had a promo crew called Custom Vibes, became a part of, and that like led to bigger parties and more opportunities and stuff like that. So there you started making more music and playing more places and getting out. And I started doing some minor touring and stuff like that, like driving to St. Louis, or I did like a kind of a US tour with Jake Carpenter, who used to be known as the Chaotic Good. But now he later joined a group called Autograph, and he's still and they just like played at Coachella.
Remember
last weekend.
So Midnight Conspiracy was another group, and isn't one of the guys from Midnight Conspiracy Autograph?
So it's both. So it's
their other project.
It's Michael and Lewis's project they started after Midnight Conspiracy. Like went on and they went from like harder, edgier stuff into like deep house and tropical house, and now they're doing a lot of Afro house stuff, which is cool. But yeah, so I met Jake. I can't remember if it was from them, because me and the Midnight Conspiracy, we all were friends and kind of DJ coming up at the same time, throwing the same parties.
It's funny you say that too, because it's like, I swear every like show at the Congress that I went to is like Midnight Conspiracy's opening up, or like every show at the Mid, which was later, it was Porn and Chicken. Yeah. So, but it's just funny to hear that you guys were friends. That makes sense.
No, we all were like playing at the same loft parties and stuff, like back in the day when loft parties were bigger. Maybe you grow out, once you get into this, you get out of the underground scene a little bit more. But yeah, I know Michael and Lewis for like since probably going back to like 2008 or so, 2007 maybe. I could be misquoting that too, but we all kind of came up at the same time, and Midnight Conspiracy really blew up, and then they kind of pivoted and switched gears and started Autograph, went like out of the bass music stuff and into the deep house. And at the same time, like when it's kind of like when the Porn and Chicken like phenomenon happened, like we were able to kind of like go in as like, well, now there's no Midnight Conspiracy, but now there's Porn and Chicken, so we kind of like maybe took over some of the bass music local support slots that they were getting, and as they got like really big with Autograph and stuff like that. So we were able to kind of get Porn and Chicken really took off as they kind of went, and they moved out of Chicago and stuff. So
all right, so let's talk Porn and Chicken. I have some questions that I wanted to go over here. Let's see. Where did I put it? Oh yeah, okay. So first, I just want to talk about like the reason and like the impetus behind Porn and Chicken. Like, where did the idea come from?
So the Porn and Chicken, it started as a Monday night party, and there was a bar called Risque Cafe that's no longer there. It got torn down, unfortunately. But anyways, it was like, and you got to give the credit to Don Brown, who was a manager and a bartender at the bar Risque Cafe. He got brought on. I don't know like how he was a manager, because we were all like 21 years old, like 20, like pretty young still. But anyways, the bar was, even like you can assess from its name that it was like pinup and kind of burlesque themed, which was like a stark contrast from all the sports bars in Wrigleyville, because it was literally like right down the street on Clark Street from Wrigley Field. So it kind of like stood out in Wrigleyville for that. But anyways, they happened to have an all-you-can-eat chicken wing special on Monday nights. It was like $6 for like all-you-can-eat wings, which was a crazy good deal.
Dude, that's crazy. What would that be now? Like $12 with inflation?
Yeah.
But anyway, still a great deal.
2009. And so Monday night they had all-you-can-eat chicken wing special. There also was a beer special, and it also happened to be the night that they showed vintage porns on. So like originally, like, oh, it's like the beer and chicken and porn night. And it started out like he had like employed a lot of his friends that also worked there and hang out. And because it was such a good deal, a lot of people came for the special. And and there are other, it started off, this was before I was even involved, so I can't like take credit for this initial inception, but then it was just like people started, they would all take turns just like playing music off their iPods, and then the original resident DJs were Dan Dwyer and Macabre Monster, and they would go on and just like and start DJing, but they didn't really know how to DJ yet, but they kind of like figured it out as it went along. And then they eventually brought their Dom's other DJ friend Jay Sephora to go on, who was already DJing a bunch beforehand. And it turned into like just a bunch of like punk rock and indie kids hanging out, and then into like a crazy dance party. And then once it started, like I had heard about it, and then like Dom invited me to come and DJ after he seen me do one of my DJ sets at a different random Sunday night party that I had kind of fell into. It was a party called Poison Therapy that I used to throw on this random bar in Lakeview on Sunday nights. And how I landed into that party or that residency was because it was like a block away from Studio Chicago, where I used to work at, where I was an engineer at, and I used to teach at the school there called Music Industry Workshop, which is now closed down. It was where I went to school and stuff. So I was just like, I would always like end up at this bar afterwards. And at that time, I was already like DJing bigger spots around the city, like at like the Congress Theater, and went on the mini tour. I was doing like stuff, and the bartender there was like, "Hey, you should DJ here." I'm like, I'm too big for this, and I'm like, I wasn't shit back then, but I had this like inflated sense of ego at the time where I thought I was like, no, I'm like above like playing at this local like kind of small tiny bar on Sunday nights. But I figured, well, since I'm here anyways, I might as well eat and drink for free and get paid and DJ and have some fun, and that turned into a fun party. And a lot of the people that went to that ended up would go to Porn and Chicken, which was on Monday night. So, and then there was like kind of a cross pollination happen, and that's how I met Dom, and he invited me. So it's kind of like me taking this random thing is what kind of got me into the Porn and Chicken mix from there. So I started off as just like a monthly guest DJ there for a few months, and then at Risque Cafe, and then the party blew up and got so big where they basically got kicked out of Risque Cafe because they kept getting fined by the city for being over capacity. And so that was kind of like the first, so that's kind of how it all started. That was like the phase one of Porn and Chicken was just at the Risque Cafe bar and parties, and I was a guestie. So then once it got kicked out, we were on the hunt to find a new venue that would host it. And then, and the Evil Olive was like on the table, and we ended up moving there. It was a bigger venue, so we didn't have to worry about getting shut down by the city for overcapacity, not right away at least. And then I was also open to 4 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. so we can go later and go bigger. And then like when that transition happened, I kind of was brought on as like the main resident DJ or the lead kind of music director behind the project, and Dom was still kind of like the manager and also a bartender at the time. And then all the other bartenders and our friends kind of came over from there to Evolve, and that's when they like really blew up because things got really crazy because it was like a bigger scaled version of it. We had more space for activities, you know what I mean? So yeah. Things could get crazier, and the owners are really cool. And then like they kind of let us get away with murder, so we could do whatever we want. It was like an open canvas of fun.
And so for people that don't know what Porn and Chicken is, like it's basically what you were saying, but it's like the Evil Olive version was kind of evolved.
Yeah, so it's like a bigger crazy sound system, like a proper DJ booth, and then they didn't have an all-you-can-eat chicken wing. There was no like kitchen at Evil Olive, so we would just bring in like pallets or trays of chicken wings to give away for free every night.
Where was the spot? What would you get them from?
So it was different places over the years. Like originally, it was a sister restaurant that was owned by the same owners as Evil Olive, but the last runs was made actually by Pie Eyed Pizza. well, shout out to Pie-Eyed, which is our chicken sponsor for a long time, but it wasn't them. So it was originally, it kind of rotated, and sometimes I was Harold's Chicken for a while, and we've had like different chicken vendors at the time, but most recently it was Pie-Eyed Pizza, who actually also does really good wings. So
and you'd always like, sometimes there was a guy in a chicken costume who would pour shots.
Yeah, so
down
there
your
always
throat.
was. So we had like different like guaranteed staples. Like, and I think like if I can attribute any of the success to the party or to the branding, or it was just like consistent deliverables. And one of them was our chicken mascot, who would come out at different points of the night and just pour out shots to anyone who wanted one, basically, or sometimes people that didn't want one. But
Yeah, it was like, just take it. Yeah.
so that was one of the staples. The other staples, we give away free chicken. The other guarantees is there's going to be porn on all the screens and TVs. So be prepared to see, like, enjoy and witness gratuitous hardcore pornography with your friends or people or complete strangers, you know?
So a couple things. I went to the Mid one time and there was alien porn. That was a specific night. That was an interesting one. And then one of my questions too is just like, what is the legality of playing pornography in a venue? Like,
I think it's
legal?
technically, I think in order to do it legally in Chicago, to the best of my understanding, I'm not a lawyer and not trying to incriminate ourselves, but I think you technically need what's called a cabaret license in order to show it inside of a venue. And I don't think any of the venues we've actually ever had one of those, but I think there is like a way to do it legally, but I don't think we ever did it legally.
Okay. We don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I don't,
and also like a lot of the bars and stuff, it's blacked out windows. Like, it's not like you can just like look in there. And
any of the venues that we've ever done it at it's not like we were like open air and you can just see it from the street. So you had to be inside. You had to like want to be there to, you kind of knew if you show up to a party that's called Porn and Chicken and everyone's talking about, and then you see porn and you're surprised, that's on you. That's not on us. You know what I mean? So it's like, and we're not like forcing it down anyone that didn't want to see it, I don't think, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, most people would just be like, wow, this is an interesting thing,
Yeah,
if they showed up, you could always leave or close your eyes.
Yeah. So that was the other staple was it was like a different theme party every week too. So not only was the porn and the chicken mascot, we would theme it out to the best of our ability. So everyone was like a costume party. So
did you have like a guy that sourced the porn? Like
that was me. Usually,
that was you. Okay.
usually it fell on me. Like I had to like, the goal was to try to find the porn that best matched the theme of the party.
Okay.
So sometimes some are easier than others to do to match. So because it was a completely different theme every single week. So
wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to consider. What was the music predominantly through like maybe the ages of it?
It definitely was an evolution. Like when the party started in 2009 back at Risque Cafe, it was it was a mix of like a lot of like I say like emo music and dance music and hard electro and remixes and stuff like that. And then like once it moved to Evil Olive, and I kind of like took more control over the musical direction, I guess. Like it got like definitely more dance music centric and it kind of less like rock centric, I guess, in a way. And the early shows at Evil Olive, we would have a band play. We would have a live band almost every week also. On top of these, we had guest DJs and a band and all that other stuff and the theme. It was just like a lot of craziness happened. Eventually, the bands kind of got phased out as like, we would always like kind of steer towards like the heavier on the dance music side of things. It was always like steered towards cutting edge, like high energy music, and that could be high energy electro or drum and bass or bass house. And then dubstep, when that kind of like took over, we were like the first party in Chicago to like, you can go and like hear dubstep at a club.
And what was the early form of dubstep that you were playing? Was it like Skrillex at the scene, or was it like before that kind of UKF?
Even like before that, we would like, there would be like stuff like Rusko and there was kind of like a lot of like proto dubstep stuff that was happening, like with Night Bass and Trouble and Bass Records, where it was very like kind of super like wonky bass house stuff that kind of like would almost like teeter on the edges. And then we kind of switched to doing just like a lot. It just became a lot more dubstep centric because it was like we were into it, and that's what, like, it was like with dubstep we were able to push the energy harder than any other stuff. Nothing else could like really like match the craziness of what was happening at the party. So I think like that became like a big central focus of it, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's everything about it's kind of jarring.
Yeah, and it's like, let's find the most extreme music that's still danceable. It's not like we're just gonna go up and just like play straight noise or like gabber, but no, it was still like you could still dance and groove to it, and it was still heavy. So I think it was like the perfect marriage of this. Kind of became like the sound of the party, but it wouldn't be like all dubstep all night. Definitely, like, I'd always kind of schedule it so the opener would play like house and techno stuff that's not like that crazy. Because what if it's like if it's an empty room and you first open doors, it doesn't make sense to just go balls. So you got to kind of like ease the crowd into it a little bit. So it wouldn't be all dubstep all night. It would, like, the peak sets would be around that, but leading up to it, it would be a lot of house and hard house and bass house and other stuff like that. And then like the end of the night was kind of anything goes. We would do drum and bass or dubstep, or it could be techno, or it could be kind of all kinds of stuff that would like happen.
For sure.
And, yeah.
So where does it kind of go? And then ultimately it's ended, correct? There's no
end. You know what I mean?
End.
It's
like, it
like,
never ends.
So it's over there. There's the phase 1 was at Risque Cafe. Then phase 2 was at Evil Olive, and one was at Evil Olive. It's like a lot of people. Like the opening night at Evil Olive, we had like celebrities like Kelly Osbourne. I think Ann Sharon Osbourne were there. I heard it was so crazy. I don't think I've seen it because I was so like distracted by all the rest of it that was going on. So once it moved there, we got a wider audience. And I also started what was called Porn and Chicken TV back then. That was like a big thing, I think, that really fueled a lot of the energy and the visibility. Like I started like kind of like I had my friend shoot it, and I would like host it and then edit it, and we were doing like a recap video of the party every single week. And it was this was not like a Instagram reel, like 30 seconds or 60 which you'll see now. Like this was like a full like 3-minute like music video mini, like interviewed episode, like a TV episode almost, like we were shooting
those when, again, Skrillex, I'm just thinking of it, he would go on tour or something, and then they'd have the show, and then they'd be at the wherever they're staying, and it would just be like a party music video kind of, but like a vlog.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. So like, so that started, and eventually I kind of like can't, because it was hard for me to like book the DJs and focus on the DJ set and promote it and do it. So we brought on other teams to like take over the videography.
Oh yeah.
Over the years, shout out to Cornelius Kite, who was our longest running videographer of that whole series. We also lost, so a lot of the videos are gone because our YouTube channel got deleted. We literally lost hundreds of videos from back then. You can still find, if you look up Porn and Chicken TV on YouTube, some of the really old ones are on there, some of the newer ones are on there, but a lot of them got deleted from YouTube. YouTube just like kicked us off completely. But
was it because some of the content in the videos?
I think it was a lot of things. Like part of it was every week we'd have feature a different song that the recap video would be built around.
Yeah.
And even if it was like DJs that we try to like always have like guest DJs music featured in the video, but there's a lot of like when that gets flagged for copyright, even if the DJ said, yeah, you could use it, that doesn't mean the label gave us permission, and then YouTube knows that. So we got a lot of copyright shows just for like featuring music. And then there's porn in the title, and then there wasn't any like really ever any porn like in the videos. That we'd always try to blur that out, or if there was like, or people got naked, which happened a lot too, we would also blur that out. But
naked at the shows, I don't think I ever went to one where people were getting naked at the show.
Yeah, they used to happen a lot.
You're like, that was normal.
Yeah, it became normalized. It's like one of those things.
What did the venue think of when it started getting like pretty wild?
We were like, for Evil Olive, I think we were the main reason the venue stayed open as long as it did. So like, during that phase, like, we we also like the party like it turned into a touring party. So people would book us to not only like put on our party at other cities, but we'd also like start. It kind of turned into the DJ group that was also Porn and Chicken, where we produced music, and that also started a record label. So now it's like by this time, it's not like it wasn't just the Monday night party. But the party was the root of it. But we had all this other. We had the band, the group, and the label, and these other sister parties and events and stuff that were going on, and a lot of things happening. But anyways, like phase 2 is when we moved the party from Evil Olive to the Mid. So our other kind of partner and kind of original member of the group is Fives. He goes by Fives, aka Five Tang. Like he started off as just being a manager at Evil Olive, and eventually kind of joined the band. We kind of like sucked him in and converted him and corrupted him to be one of us, and became like kind of like the third
corrupted him.
Anyways, like he got offered an opportunity to become like the general manager at the Mid, and like right when that like right or so we ended up moving the party from Evolve, and then Evolve shut down like right away, like right after. It was like kind of we kind of seen that was coming because some of the other parts were getting like a little bit dangerous, so to speak, where gang members might have, I don't know, like the venue got like a little bit riskier, maybe, so to speak, and I think someone got shot, and then that venue shut down. But by then that was like right after we just moved to the Mid, so that was like the next phase of the party. So from 2017 to like 2019, we did the party at the Mid, and then the Mid shut down. So then it's like we lost our home base of the weekly party. We still had the group, we still were doing other parties like Planet Filth was like a side project. We had this thing called Born to Bang and other parties that were happening like at different venues, but on a less consistent basis. And we still had music coming out as a group and stuff like that. But it all like the main kind of like foundation, like the catalyst that kind of fueled all this stuff was the Monday night party. So once that ended, we had other plans for parties, and then it's like the venue shut down. We were doing other things. And we had a bunch of festival stuff lined up leading into 2020, and then COVID hit, and all the festival stuff like ended also. And it's like our main kind of like we all kind of had to like take a break from it for a while, and we all kind of like got into other things, and it's just like we all kind of went separate. So it's like, you know, we still, you know, Dom has his own club called Never Have I Ever now. And the last, like, we've done like an annual like Porn and Chicken like Monday night reunion party there, so that's still happening. But we all have like so much other stuff going on that it's just kind of like the brand. We don't have, it's not a weekly party, and it's not like we're not really like producing dubstep bass music stuff, which is what the sound of Porn and Chicken became. Like, so we're all just kind of doing different stuff now. So, but we don't, it's not over. We're still here. It's not like we didn't say, no, this is the last one.
Can't ever happen again.
You know what I mean?
The concept is eternal.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's something that could go on way beyond us even, you know, it's like.
Yeah. Do you guys like joke about maybe bringing it back in a more consistent way, or is it just like it hasn't lined up and everyone's kind of
I don't know, like
things?
Like it's just like a lot of the stars kind of aligned up at the right time and the place, like when it first happened. We the right people, the right time, the right place, like the right kind of things all like just like clicked and went nuts. Like, and I think some of those variables are different. We're all older now. Like we're not like in our early 20s anymore, and it's like we're not like, it's just like a different, we still party, we still go out, we're still doing music and still in the nightlife scene, but it's just like I think that like a lot of our friends have grown up maybe even if we haven't, like, and I think there's like a demand for something like that's kind of wild and crazy like that in Chicago. And I haven't seen anything. I don't think any of us have like that could compare to like how fun and crazy that really was, like every single week. So, and people don't go out on Monday nights anymore. Really, it's like there's very, very select. You know, back then, like I think the best if you're like, hey, what should you do in Chicago, like as a tourist or as like a first time like getting exposed to dance music or the scene. Like, all right, Sunday night it was Boom Boom Room or Queen. Monday night was Porn and Chicken. Tuesday night was a Trap House. Wednesday night was the Zombies versus Skeletons party. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, those were the normal club nights, like the normal. You go to your River North, your downtown bars and stuff like that. You see the big touring DJs would come in on those. So it was like a nonstop like cycle of craziness. Like you could do all week, like, and have like a lot of fun every night of the week, pretty much. And
So were you living that life?
yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Like it was like because like Monday night became like my Saturday night, essentially.
Yeah, your week like shifted.
Yeah, and like Tuesdays were like a throwaway, like for a lot, like a decade. Like it's like I didn't get shit done on Tuesday because we would go so hard on Monday nights that we either stay up through Tuesday or just be so dead you couldn't do anything, and then we get up, then we go to the trap house, and again, it's like, and repeat the cycle. So it was like. Yeah, it became very normalized to go out. Like I used to go out like every night of the week, pretty much, and yeah, it was a different time back then. So
it also, I just think some people are built different. Maybe you just kind of were built for it. Like I don't know, pain tolerance is high, I don't know.
I don't know. Like just like I think it definitely. I've had like a high tolerance for partying in a lot of different ways over the years. Now, like I'm a lot older now, so it's like. I can't compete with my younger self as much, so I got to pick and choose my battles a lot more these days. As your body's, you can't give it. But like I'm on a sober cleanse right now. I haven't done any party substances or no drug and alcohol free for like 4 months right now. So just to like shake things up a little bit to see what you could do, but that stuff catches up with you after a while. I think like. You can do that in your 20s and bounce back and just like nothing happened and still keep going and show up. But it's like you get the older you get a little bit wiser too. Maybe that's part of it. And
timing, you like time stuff better.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm way more productive now. Maybe I'm way more successful now in other ways than if you compare like how successful the party was now. You kind of just have to like shift your priorities a little bit and. To keep going if you want to like have a sustainable career in this industry, because it's real easy to kind of maybe burn yourself out and not have anything to show for it, so
some Chicago nightlife stuff. Like one of the things we were talking about that you mentioned a lot were some venues that no longer are open, and that's just kind of the nature of nightclubs. They don't stay around for forever.
It's very rare that you get like a longer than 5 or 10 year run for any venue.
Yeah, because people are just like, it's old news. Even just in a mental, like the way you think about it. Just like, we've been going there too much or whatever.
Yeah, but it's just like a lot of clubs, they'll they'll get sold and then it'll be the same venue, but they'll open up a new name and it's like, hey, it's new again,
Yeah.
Or it's like, but even if DJs do that, they'll rebrand under it. There's a new project. Hey, it's the new thing now. It's not the same old tired DJ that it's something fresh and original. So it makes it sometimes more exciting.
What were some classic venues in Chicago that like you're kind of sad are gone? Besides, we talked about the Mid and Evil Olive.
The Mid and Evil, those are like my home away from homes where I could walk in and walk on stage and get some drinks and just do whatever, like I felt really, it was like Evil Out more so than the Mid. The Mid was the management was a lot uptighter. We had to like play by the rules a lot more at the Mid than we were able to. Like Evil Out was able to like ride my Harley through the dance floor in the middle of the night, like rev it up, and the owners of the Mid.
Legitimately?
Yeah. I used to do that every year for my Mad Max birthday party, and then we moved to the Mid.
That must have been so loud.
Yeah, and then like we moved to the Mid. They're like, no, you can't ride your motorcycle through the club. That's not cool. And I was like, oh, that's like the little things like that. They would like put some restraint on it a little bit. But anyway, the Mid was still a lot of fun. And I had a lot of great memories there. Like I just like looked at my Instagram the other day and I'm like going through like really old posts, like, oh, there's a picture of me like on stage right behind Avicii like in 2011, right? Shit like that. I got to like open for Skrillex the first time he played in Chicago at the Mid 2010. So there's some crazy memories there. But anyways, like, yeah, the Mid, Neo was like kind of the industrial goth nightclub in Chicago. That was a lot of fun. I went there for a lot of years before they closed, and it was the only place that was like consistently like just new wave goth industrial music, which was a lot of fun. I have a lot of roots in that, that world as well, and that was like the only place you could go. And then there's Exit. You probably
I was gonna say, I feel like you've definitely frequented.
yeah,
Exit.
I was definitely
Not to judge
I've
a
had
book
some of
by
my-
its cover, but
I've
I
had
could
some
see
of
you walking out.
my best times and worst times at Exit for sure. But I wouldn't change too much for it. But yeah,
And now it still exists,
it's
right?
still there, and it's still
But it's not at the
the
same.
owners still own it. It's still there. It's just sitting empty. The city shut it down to too many
Yeah.
violations. Apparently,
It was like the salty spittoon in there. Like it was. I walked into the bathroom and there were like flies and stuff. I was like, okay, damn, this is crazy.
yeah. No, it's one of the dirty. It's like it was. I liked it because like you could like bring. I would like bring host. I take people from out of town, and you could like tell like people like sometimes they're like, I don't know, is this safe to be here? It's like those are the favorite venues where you feel like if you don't feel like it's a little bit sketchy or safe in one way or another, like, and that was one of. But I never felt like unsafe there ever, because it was all my friends that worked there and went there and hung out and like. But you would if you walked in like you could see like a lot of maybe like intimidating people of all different breeds and walk of life that would hang out there, but yeah, I had a lot of fun there and I had a lot of great times, but a lot of really shitty times too. But the good comes with the bad, you know.
Predominantly from overindulgence.
Yeah,
Or just we weren't getting to like.
I almost killed myself leaving there on my Harley back in 2010. Like I was blackout drunk and I took off on my Harley and crashed really hard and like split my face open. We were actually leaving. Exit had closed at 4 a.m. on a Sunday because I was leaving my earlier party, which is called Poison Therapy, and I rode there, which I shouldn't have been, and then went to Exit because that went till 4, closed that down, and then we all were leaving to go back to Evil Olive to open it up for after hours illegally. and on the way there, I don't remember this, but like I took off on the bike and fucking crashed really hard. I think getting on the expressway ramp, split my head open, almost died. I had to get peeled off the road, and you can still see like the scars on my face are from that. That's from Exit, but yeah.
So you got peeled off the street, as in like an ambulance. Someone
yeah, I had to
called?
get picked up and like they had to stitch my face back together and all that stuff, and yeah, that was a really bad motorcycle accident. So
That's scary shit, man.
Yeah.
Motorcycles scare me, but I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like just from a young age, my parents were like, just don't ride motorcycles. And I was like, all right, I guess I won't do that.
yeah. I still, I don't drink and drive anymore because you crash really good a few times. You learn the lesson. You know what I mean? That's
scary.
my middle name is Harley. I had named after the motorcycle. So my dad is big into motorcycles. The whole family has a racing team and stuff like that. So
Oh, really?
a side hobby of mine is like motorcycles. I have like
Do you go for the chopper where it's like up, or do you go for like, because there's different configurations?
I normally
from
have
what I
like
understand.
my custom Harley that I kind of designed and built from scratch. It has like drag bars, so they're not high up, but they're like straight out like this. So they're not like curved or anything. They're kind of up forward and straight. So
Gotcha. Are there meetups and stuff? Do you ride with people? Like,
I usually just ride by myself most of the time just to get it. Like I rode my motorcycle here today. Like I want my get around, my Sportster, not the main custom Harley, but there are some fun like bike nights and stuff like that. But normally I'm just like riding to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always, because I used to bike in the city, which is not driving a motorcycle, but I always felt like having some speed and fast acceleration kept me safe from like cars and stuff.
If you can get like my motorcycle mentality is I try to like get ahead of cars and get away from them. Because it's usually like, I think the most dangerous thing is like getting hit by another car or a car like burning. They can hit you and they'll be fine, but you're screwed if you get hit by a car. So
That's how I felt on my bike.
I try to like get ahead of them and be like, take the lead and still be aware of the surroundings while you're driving. And most of the time it's pretty safe. I did have another motorcycle accident like 2 summers ago. Just from merging lanes, I hit like a pothole in the expressway and I had bad tires and went sideways and crashed. That sucked. I got some I fucked up my tattoo.
Damn.
So you could see like this is still like healing from that dude. So
do you wear like the leather jacket and all of that?
I try to.
Does that help?
When I crashed, I had nothing on. I just had t-shirt and jeans on. But,
it's probably one of those things where it's like, I know I should wear a helmet. I know I should do all this.
If I know I'm like going far or on the expressway, I'll wear a helmet. But see, not always. So I probably should wear it more. But
look, I'm not here to lecture you. I'm just saying that it's like, it's one of those things where you know that there's certain things you should do, but it feels good to be like, oh, I'm just raw dogging it right now. Like, got the hair or the wind in my face, and But anyway, that is okay. Interesting. Yeah. So let's. I don't
know how we got on the motorcycles.
No, I'm glad we did.
We're talking about venues. Yeah, exit. So like, that was a memorable. Well, I don't remember that night at all. I just remember waking up in the hospital the next day after being an exit, but it was my fault. I don't blame it on the bar or anyone else there but myself for that one.
What was you talked about some iconic people that you opened up for? You said Skrillex, you were chilling behind Avicii. Are there any other memorable ones?
I got to open for deadmau5, for Skrillex, Netsky. I mean, from like, if you don't like, if that's just like some of the local support slots where it's just like a club night or a theater night, like a lot of the we got to do direct support for a lot of the big dubstep people in Chicago. And like one of the most pretty cool one was at the Congress Theater in 2012, I think. And it was New Year's Eve, Congress Theater, and Rusko was the headliner. And me and Jay Sephora got to play there. And then I think it was like, it might have been the Crookers that went on after us. And then Rusko. And
was that the one with Dr. P or no?
I don't think Dr. P was there.
There was a show that my friends went to that was Rusko and Dr. P, and they came home and they were like, dude, it was so sick. And I was like, I wish I was there. But anyway.
And Rusko shot like a music video for one of his songs at that show too. I forgot what song it was. Anyways, he shot the music video there, and then we like me and Jay like headlined Spy Bar right afterwards the same night. So that was a lot of fun. But like it's hard to even remember. Like I remember a friend of mine from Milwaukee, my homie Apple Country. We were hanging out like just like a month ago, and he's like, yeah, do you remember like after Wavefront Festival, I gave you a ride to Primary and you opened up for Excision at Primary nightclub, like in the basement. Like that's crazy to hear like Excision at Primary, which is like an underground, like 200 person max, like, and I was like, I opened for him and I don't fucking remember it even at all. Like, and it was like, there's like stuff like that happen. It was just like,
where you see like the old lineup and you're like, whoa, what?
I played that? Like I was there, what? And it's like, you would think like Excision for like 200 people, like, now he's like 200,000 people, it's it's like,
no, it's nuts. And the visuals and everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I got to do a lot of really cool direct support slots at the Mid and also at the Congress Theater and also at like Concord and stuff like that. And then like all the festival stuff, from getting to play North Coast Festival like I think it played North Coast like 10 times, Spring Awakening like every time that they did it, I think, even the last
Spring
one.
Awakening was so sick when it was at Soldier Field.
Yeah, we got to Port and Chicken. We got to open up the main stage inside the field at Soldier Field. That was like one of those memorable moments. But
oh man, it's really bringing me back. Just like a nice hot summer night, and you're at Soldier Field and
like in the stadium. We had to play outside the stadium first, and then we got to play inside the stadium.
Right, the outside stages were fun too.
Yeah, so we did outside first at this tiny stage, and then next year we got to play the main stage, midside. Then we played like an outside stage again a couple times, and but yeah, I got to do that. Like over the years, I also got to play at like Ultra Miami when I was on tour with this other project called Cryo Man. Like I got to like. I was kind of part of this like his DJ group that did a bunch of world tour dates, and we did South America, we did Tokyo, we did China, Ultra Europe in Croatia. I got to open up the main stage there, and then I played one of the smaller stages at Ultra Miami that year. And so it's like, yeah, those, and then like at those festivals, and you meet a lot of crazy artists and stuff like that. And EDC Vegas in 2013 I got to play too, so it was just like some cool stuff. I've over the years, it's like it really is like hard to I had to like
that's crazy. You traveled
you have to like look back on the Instagram or Facebook to kind of remember some of the stuff, because like you do so much, I don't say you don't appreciate it, you just move so fast that it's like, all right, what's next? Where we're at now? And so
yeah, right. I feel like if you thought about it a lot, it would be kind of like maybe overwhelming, or you're just like,
it's
I
like
don't
you
even
have
know
to
what
like
I'm doing. Like
you have to kind of break it down, just see like, oh shit, I don't like the obviously like the major festival ones that are either Chicago, those are more memorable, like, but there have been like a lot of other like really cool direct support slots that I got booked and I don't remember.
So I'm also kind of curious what your take on the health of like the electronic music scene is right now, both in Chicago and just kind of like in general. Like Chicago, back when I was seeing shows at the Mid, it was like React, and then there was like Silver Rapper, and then now I know that like React bifurcated, and it's like the two guys, whatever. I don't want to get into the politics or whatever, but like, yeah, like what's going on in let's start in Chicago. Like what's going on? Do you still DJ a lot in Chicago?
Yeah, I still play like I played like at least like 2 to 5 times a week every single week. So I'm still in it and played I have residencies at this spot called Lyra here in Fulton Market. So it's all I
Wait, is that there. The one is that Greek place?
It's a Greek like restaurant by day and kind of like a nightclub lounge like at night. It's definitely like more low key gigs in Chicago lately. Like but I'm still out here doing it, just like not as maybe like I would say like it's a different kind of shift because I'm focusing more like on just like house music stuff. So some of the gigs are a little bit more low key and chill and stuff like that.
It's just kind of like consistent.
Yeah. So I never like have stopped really playing, but and like I said, like this, I played like on Saturday night at Lyra. The Sunday night it was at Galleria, which is just a new club that opened up, which used to be Detention. It's like another rebranding of the nightclub, but they did a really good job of like really like making it super nice on the inside. So
okay,
so I still play. It's just I played at I play at Prism. Everyone, that's like one of the bigger, more. So I got to open for a closeout for Wookiee. Was like the last like pretty big show that I do there, and
that's cool.
Then they have like the Sunday and Monday night parties, which I'm more frequent at. And
okay, so you're still DJing a lot. And in terms of like music wise, you're doing a lot of house. Is that because it's kind of like a no-brainer, like it's gonna work in most situations, or is that just where the scene is at?
I think it's a lot of factors. Like when I first like started DJing and producing music, it was mostly electro house and kind of like different flavors of and offshoots of like indie and electric, because that's kind of like where my roots were a lot. And I've always like played it over the years, but when Porn Chicken took off, like I got more booked for like the bass music and the heavier stuff. And so I was like definitely way more immersed into that world, and the house kind of took a back burner. And now it's like fast forward, like especially like since COVID, I think the scene, there is like less bass music just overall, like in the scene. There's still like really big dubstep and bass and stuff like that. There's a lot of drum and bass and stuff. It's kind of blowing up. But I think that there's more opportunities, at least for me, to play house and also to make house and put it up. And when I say house, like the stuff that I'm working on now, it varies from like kind of Latin and Afro inspired house to tech house to bass house. And I have like some techno and melodic techno stuff coming out this summer that hasn't come out yet too. So I just like, and I think just like, getting older, it's just like, your tastes kind of change and mature. And like I said, because I've always done it, but now it's like, I'm just like, I'm just less mentally in the dubstep kind of headspace. I still will play it, like when I play at Electric Forest the last couple of years, like that's always like I end up doing like last year I did like 10 different DJ sets and I do a little bit of everything, like house and deep dub and dubstep and drum and bass, and so like there's like pockets every once in a while I'll get to play it. But most of the stuff that I'm getting booked for is in the house music world and the stuff that I'm making. So it just kind of like makes sense that I'm in there more lately.
Okay, here's another just like kind of to close out the Chicago producer DJ scene. Who are some people in the scene that like you think are cool in Chicago? Like producers or DJs? Anyone that inspires you?
Yeah, no, like everyone is cool. That's a no,
Friends.
No, like, yeah. No, I have a lot of homies. So like I would just shout out to like all ours here in the studio. We have a bunch of partners that all kind of work together and on a lot of different stuff. And it's me, Alex Kisloff. He's been staple of the Chicago scene for a long time. He just put his first album out last fall. And I remixed like one of the songs off of his album with Ron Carroll that just came out like about a month ago. So Alex is always doing some really cool stuff. Other studio partner, RV Mala, he's working on a bunch of music, and we have some collab stuff we're working on that's going to be coming out really soon. I'm excited for. Other shout out to Danny Deal. She's been around. She's been DJing longer than I have, I think, and been in scene and releasing music for a real, just like a long, they've been like a massive like pillar of the community as far as like just like speaking out and bringing stuff together and people together. So she's also one of our partners here that uses some time. She's also married to Fi, was our other partner from Foreign Chicken, which maybe not everyone knows or realizes. Fi is doing a bunch of DJ stuff coming out now too. I don't know if he's working on music yet, but we have some plans to. And then like a lot of the collaborators that I got to shout out that I have tracks that are already out and coming out with my homie Deep Cuddle. His name used to go by Danny Diggable. Now he has his whole new kind of weird psychedelic house project, and I've been helping him work on stuff, doing mixing and stuff like that for him. But we also have a bunch of collaboration tracks coming out. Shout out to Alex Wolf. He's like a really hardworking producer. It's like we just put a track out called Pump It, and we have some new stuff coming out too. Shout out to Smirk, who did vocals on one of our collab tracks, and another up and coming producer who goes by Violet City. He's got about like 10 or 12 really awesome like melodic techno tracks and kind of underground techno stuff. And we have a 3-song EP coming out, and DJ Mauricio, or aka Mauricio Mesa, we have a lot of the Latin tech and Afro Latino house stuff. We have 2 tracks out already, and then 5 more are signed that are going to be coming out. So
something that's that's a lot of people. I got some homework to do.
I think I'm probably forgetting some. I'm going to get my ass kicked for forgetting, but that's more. Yeah.
So is the music predominantly these days being released through Orville Kline?
Yeah, so all the projects that I just mentioned are just under my solo name as Orville Kline.
Okay.
And it's a little bit kind of widespread because my first like producer alias was Orvtronics, and that was kind of just
you were ahead of the times.
Yeah,
with the Tronics part.
Yeah, it was Orvtronics with 3 X's, triple X at the end because it was explicitly extreme. No, and everyone, and then like I kind of ditched that alias like in about 2010 and just switched to just my solo name as Orville Kline. And then like I was kind of focusing on that for a long time. But then once Porn and Chicken like took off, the early like Porn and Chicken tracks had my name as a producer. Hadn't really started the Porn and Chicken like DJ group and yet. So then when that happened, my solo stuff all kind of took a back burner because all the energy kind of went on that. In 2021, I also like started a second side project called Adoptable, with James DeNino, and like that was like a mid-tempo bass project, so I kind of focused on that for a while, and then like that we kind of separated that project. He's still doing it solo now, and then from there I just kind of went in to just focus on solo stuff. And I do have another project that me and my wife Monique are starting called Orvmo as well, which we've been working on for like years now, but it hasn't debuted yet too. So
okay, lot to look out for. Yeah, there. So that's cool. Yeah,
just like this year, last year I put out maybe like 1 or 2 tracks only, and just like since like last December now, I'm scheduled to have like 15 tracks come out just under the solo name. So I'm really kind of focusing on shifting to putting more stuff out and trying stuff. And
yeah, so like it seems like you kind of live, sleep, eat, I don't know if that's the proper word, music, and like you've shaped your life around that? Like you
100%.
DJ, like is this full time? There's no other like you're doing lessons in here. You told me that you were booked like all day before I got here, and you know, and then you DJ at night. So like,
yeah, you know, I was out DJing till like 4 a.m. last night. I had to be back here for like a 10-hour day, you know, in the studio in the morning. So, so all I do is music. I kind of like, you know, you find ways to kind of shape your life. You find things that, you know, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not like broke, but I'm not rich or anything like that. But I'm able to pay the bills and support myself and still like, you know, live okay, you know, like just by doing music stuff. And I could like happy to say that it's all stuff that I enjoy doing. So like I've to get to this point, I did a lot of shitty jobs and gigs and things that that weren't as fun, or like, you know, before, on all the non-music related jobs. Like I was a janitor, I was a bricklayer, I used to like cut grass, I used to like I worked in factories. There are a lot of like real shitty kind of manual labor jobs, and I used that, like all the money from that, to like invest into myself and into my music equipment and my music career, so I can like just do the things that are actually I enjoy, that don't, you know. So nowadays, like my Monday through Saturday is like working in the studio. So I do mixing and mastering, I do Ableton training, I'm producing music, and I'm helping people out in just like different ways with whatever they need music consultation with. So it's a lot of different things in different situations. And then, you know, so on top of that, and it's like making music, my spare time, which I really don't have. It's like when I get to work on my own stuff, or just like I'm focusing on just you know, cause like to release music now and to have any kind of like, I guess to get people to actually hear it, you have to advertise, you have to market it, you have to like blast the hell out of it to get people to notice or care. So that's like a full-time job almost in itself. So it's doing that, and then DJing on the weekends. I still play guitar for some gigs too, stuff. I'm playing in a band with Martin Atkins from Pigface. He was in a band. He played drums in Killing Joke and Ministry, Nine Inch Nails, and there's this other band he's putting together that's going to be playing a Killing Joke album this November, and I'm part of that with some really cool guest musicians from other bands that I really like looked up to and admired. So like
crazy. That's sick, dude.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's a whole other, and like I did a whole tour with this band called Pigface in 2019, where I played all the electronics and loops and samples in the band, and that tour we had guest musicians included Randy Blythe, the singer of Lamb of God, Danny Carey, who's a drummer from Tool, and
dude, you've met
and that's
so
from
many people.
KMFDM, and a bunch of other just like people like Chris Connolly and NH from KFFDM, and a bunch of other people from different bands like Ween and stuff, all like kind of made guest appearances, and this is another kind of side project band like that I'm getting to play with, which is really cool. A lot of these musicians are bands that I grew up listening to, going full circle with the conversation. So a lot of those people were my big influences, my early bands, and I think like so a lot of the rock and metal and punk stuff, it still kind of like bleeds into the electronic stuff that I do in different ways. And it's cool to be able to like, now I get to like meet these people and we're in text threads together, you know, like.
Yeah, they say don't meet your heroes, but like at the same time, are most
if
people
they're cool, you know, yeah, most of them are cool. I think the ones that stick around are usually cool, you know. Yeah. The ones that are assholes aren't around that long. I think the industry or the world kind of finds a way of like
pushing them out,
making them less relevant, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, dude, that's awesome, man. I also wanted to talk to you about the Ableton Certified Trainer aspect.
Yeah.
Just because Ableton's such a dense program and it keeps getting more and more nuanced. I'm a fanboy. I started on Ableton like 9 or 8, I forget. And yeah, I mean, I just picked that DAW up and haven't gone back ever since. In school, I went to audio engineering school. They were like, oh, you gotta use Pro Tools, and I would be doing projects in Ableton and then exporting them in Pro Tools or whatever, like just to make sure I don't get a bad grade. So yeah, I want to talk about kind of like, why did you want to get trained first of all, and like kind of what is the training?
Well, So like it
Or
kind of
certified, sorry.
so there is no certified training it's only like testing. So like going back, kind of rewinding like back to like 2004, after I graduated high school, I went to like recording school, which was like a small vocational school in Chicago called Music Industry Workshop, and it was also based at Studio Chicago. So I went there, and I kind of like primarily like I basically like took all the classes that I could that they had to offer. So I tried to learn engineering and some basics of MIDI. So, and that whole like initial training was all built like taught on Pro Tools completely. But I also learned about like signal flow through consoles and what microphones to use to record different types of instruments, and how to mix, how to do mastering, like kind of some high level stuff. And they also had like an electronic music portion of that class that focused on MIDI. Like, and this was like, and this was back then where Ableton was around, but it wasn't like even really mentioned in that class at the time. So like I learned how to like if you look at, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, this is like this is an EMU MoFat sound module. I'm not sure if you've ever seen one of these or
no.
So this is like it's basically a rack mount kind of sampled instrument. It's kind of like a precursor to something like Nexus is today, where there's a whole bunch of sounds. It is technically a sampler, but you can't like load your own samples. You're stuck with the sounds that come with it. So I learned how to like, all right, send MIDI using a MIDI cable into this, and then you could sequence MIDI with Pro Tools and then record the audio from it as an instrument back in, and then sample it. So like I got the training on how to use stuff like this and basics of synthesis and stuff like that. And then at the same time, so I got to learn on some hardware. At the same time, I was kind of like just dipping my toes into Ableton, but I was still using Pro Tools and Logic a lot more than Ableton at that time. And the first like Pro Tools M box that I bought actually came with its own copy of like Ableton Live version 4, I think. So they used to, when you bought Pro Tools, the Pro Tools interface, they used to give you Ableton for free. So like I had it, and I had installed it like back then, but I had no idea. Like it didn't really make sense to me. I figured out Pro Tools and then Reason and Acid and Fruity Loops and stuff back then, but Ableton was still kind of foreign. Then like eventually every once in a while I would like crack it open and like try to like decipher what the hell was going on, because the session view just seeing the session view by itself, it was like compared to any other DAW, it was like an alien language of sorts.
I feel like they've somehow subtly made it a little bit more user friendly, or maybe it's just that I know where everything is for the most part. But I'm looking at 12 right now, and it's I don't know. It looks familiar to me.
I think it's like it's one of those things where if you go back, you look at version 8 or 7 or version 4. If you go from 4 to 12, it is a pretty different, but for the most part, like when you upgrade or kind of go from one version, they don't really change that much. So the core of it's pretty much the same. So
yeah.
Anyway, so I know I started I started just like learn. I was more so into engineering, and then eventually I kind of just like dipped my toes into Ableton, and then it really like just all of a sudden like I got like a newer version of it. I forgot, it might have been like Ableton 7, and then it just clicked all of a sudden, like, oh shit, I get it now. Then I started using it as my main kind of like songwriting tool for making my dance music and stuff that I was making at the time. Back then I was still like engineering all the sessions I did at the studio in Pro Tools, but Ableton just like really clicked as a songwriting tool. And it was like a light bulb that turned on at some point. So, and then I started using it a lot and getting deeper into production, and started like actually like teaching at the school that I went to. And it just so happened that like in 2009, when I was already teaching there, another teacher his name is Thomas Falls, so now he's a full-time educational and brand manager for Ableton Live. But he was a huge fan of it at the time, and he had like started the Chicago Ableton user group, and he kind of got me involved with that. And then we kind of started teaching it as part of the curriculum for the school. And then when it came time for an Ableton certification like trainer testing and I guess verification event. Like they did it at the studio that I worked at. So
oh, wow.
So basically I applied and I went through like the weekend long testing event that happens in order to verify that you're qualified to wear the certified trainer badge, essentially, you know. So there's no like real training that I went through it that can kind of like train you for it. Mm-hmm. Like nowadays, like, because I've had people that are interested in becoming a certified trainer, there's no like, you can't like, there's not like one class you can take, or there's not like, there's no like official curriculum you can go through by Ableton. But what I always recommend is like linking up with a certified trainer who has already gone through it and has been tested with it. Let's say if you were interested in becoming a certified trainer, I'd say like, all right, these are the things you're going to get tested on. These are the things you need to be proficient in. And, you know, I can kind of guide you in that direction. Otherwise you could just take the test and just see what happens too, which some people do, but some people fail it also, you know.
So like if you take the test, and I guess this would probably be through like the Ableton website, if you fail it, is there like a cooldown?
No, it's not you can do online. So it's a week. It's like a weekend long certified training testing event series. So
were they kind of like,
it's multiple stages to it. So the first thing is you have to fill out an application, like a written application, just with your basic information, and then they want to see like or hear or some of your prior teaching experience and examples of you teaching it. And so if you pass, like your application meets the criteria phase one, the next stage is a phone interview where they want to talk to you in person, make sure you're legit, make sure you're doing it for, you know, you're serious about it, and make sure you can communicate the basics, I guess, over the phone. Then if you make it past the interview after the application, then you have to attend one of the yearly certified trainer testing events, and they host it like in a different city around the world, like once a year. And they did it once in Chicago, you know, but it's usually like somewhere else. Like either, I think they flip flop. They'll do it in the States one year, then they'll do it overseas somewhere else the following year.
Go to Germany or something.
Yeah, they've done it in other cities. So then you have to pay the application fee, which I think is like $1,500 or something like that.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty standard. That's what it was actually like a while ago. It's probably gone up since then, because I don't.
Yeah, when I said inflation, good, I meant like that's kind of high.
That's what you would expect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's a 3-day long event. So like day one, it's written exams. It's all just like theoretical knowledge that you have to like pass the written exams. Day two, it's like studio projects that you have to complete. So they'll give you like a task that you need to get from point A to point B with something. So like reverse engineering sounds, or making something with these tools, or just like in studio projects. You have like a few of them that you have to complete within a certain amount of time. That's like phase two, you have to pass. And then if you don't pass, then like the final part is you have to like give a lecture on some brand new feature that's kind of cutting. So something that's like you haven't been able to like watch a whole bunch of other lectures already on, like, and you have to like basically teach it to all the other trainers and the Ableton reps to make sure that your vocabulary is correct. You have to make sure that you're not missing anything, or they have to like demonstrate that you can teach clearly and that you know all the ins and outs of what you're teaching.
Does it get down to the like inner components, like on a max level of like, here's like how this plugin works?
Well, for what part of, you know?
Yeah, right.
So it's 3 different things. It's like there's a written exam. It could get that in the weeds.
Okay.
The studio exam, it might get that deep. And then the lecture is something that's on you to demonstrate what you know and how.
I guess there's just a point where like, you know, you can know Ableton and know how it works and teach people well, and that's probably the most important thing. And there's like the underlying like computer coding stuff that's like that they mix, but there is a point where it's like, all right, whoa, I'm not making Ableton here.
Yeah, so like this. Well, and this is when I got tested, literally 16 years ago. So, and I haven't, and I don't think it's changed a whole lot, but it might have. So it could be completely different now. So
sure, yeah.
Don't misquote me. But
this is your experience, yeah.
This was my experience. So then, so yeah, this was before Max for Live was a thing, or Max OSVs, but since every new version that comes out, you have to become recertified. So you have to and it's a lot easier to get recertified. You just have to show that you're still doing it and teaching it, and have to demonstrate that you're putting out new stuff. And it's easier to it's a remote thing. You just usually send a video, or example of you teaching a workshop or a class on some new stuff to maintain your updated certification trainer status. So
have you spent much time with the Ableton people in general? What's the vibe of the company on the people side of things? Pretty cool people?
Everyone, everyone that works there is a fan of it. I think that I don't think at least I haven't met anyone that doesn't use it every day and has a blast using it every day. So it's just from even people that are not on the technical side, everyone there is a musician and makes music and is about it, and they wanted to work there because they're legit fans of the software. So that's so you can imagine the most hardcore fans all in one place. That's the core of the Ableton staff.
Yeah, how do we make this better?
Yeah, everyone is trying to make it better. Everyone wants to spread the gospel of Ableton Live as much as possible, and they're super supportive of they've always been one of the perks of being a trainer is that they'll sponsor user group workshops, or they'll book you to do lectures for free, open to the public stuff for people, and they were super helpful during COVID, sponsoring me putting on weekly online Ableton user group workshops with different guests and stuff like that. So I've had nothing but positive experiences from everyone that works at Ableton. I can't speak any higher. Shout out to Thomas Falds, who's we became certified trainer with me at the same time, and he's kind of spearheaded me to get the certified training status, and he's been working full time with the company for over a decade now, and been a huge advocate and kind of a bridge between the higher ups and us trainers and stuff like that in the middle, cool. And educators. So
are there many other in Chicago?
So right now in Chicago, there's about 3 or 4 of us. It's me, Thomas Falds, who also is a trainer, also works full time for Ableton. He's very close to Chicago. There's another trainer. There's 2 more. One of them is Matt McCoy. He kind of specializes more in live sound and gospel music stuff. So he's kind of in a different world than the EDM.
The live Ableton Live aspect.
Yeah, definitely doing a lot. I think if you look up his bio, he kind of I never really got to meet him or work with him, but I know of him. And then there's a new trainer, which I can't remember his name.
The new kid on the block, yeah.
And he's also he's doing some cool stuff, but I haven't met him as well. So there's a couple of us in Chicago, but none of them have the seniority over me and Thomas Falls. And out of all of them, I'm the only one, as far as I know, that's heavy in the EDM kind of dance music focus. A lot of trainers, there's a lot, they're all over the world. They all kind of specialize, I think, in different things, whether it's game music, or it's guitar, or it's rock, or hip hop, stuff like that. Yeah. But I think I dabble in all those things, but my main focus is electronic dance music stuff.
So if people want to come and I got here and you were doing a session with someone, a teaching session.
Yeah.
And do people come to be trained specifically on Ableton? How do you run that kind of operation? So yeah,
I'd say 95% of my students all use Ableton, but I do have some students. I've had students that work in Logic, and they're interested more so like in different concepts, like the concepts of like sound design and mixing and mastering. It's not really DAW specific. It's like
it doesn't matter.
Knowing how to EQ and compress and limit, and especially if when you're using third party tools to do that, it's not Ableton specific. So I definitely I have students that I teach at Millikan University that are on FL Studio and stuff like that, and we're going into like more of these higher level concepts that's not Ableton specific, but it makes it easier if you are Ableton.
Sure.
I have some of my students that are just DJ students as well, so we talk about just using CDJs and the mixer and stuff like that. That's not Ableton related. So, but if they're like doing live music or producing music or recording and mixing,
you could probably help them with something.
But I think Ableton is the best tool for doing all that stuff. Each DAW has their strengths and weaknesses, but having worked with all of them over the years, I think Ableton is the fastest workflow. You can get from point A to B in less steps usually. I think I can just get the job done faster in Ableton most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel that way. I'm a little biased, but not
as biased as me, probably. Being a certified trainer, but
so people that want to come learn or just sign up for a session with you, they can kind of be like, hey, I want to learn DJing, and you're like, all right, cool, come to the studio, I'll teach you how to mix on CDJs. Or if they want to learn
that
mix.
Simple.
It's everything. So it's like a one-stop shop. Is there anywhere that they can go, like OrvilleKline.com?
Yeah, you can, if you go to OrvilleKline.com, which is my website.
Okay.
It's a pretty rudimentary. It's a basic website, but it has like my bio, some music, and so we'll
put the links.
A little bit of information on like some of my training services and stuff like that on there. You can also find me on the Ableton website if you look for certified trainers. My bio's on there, but all the same stuff is also on my website. Some people find me from the Ableton website. There's a lot of word of mouth students that have worked with me that kind of just like hit me up directly, like, hey, you worked with so and so, was recommended. And some people go to my website. There's a form you could fill out that sends me an email, or you can just email me directly, orvillekline@mac.com. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of and find. If you're interested, it's not that hard to find me.
Are you taking on clients? Are you all like?
Right now my schedule is, I'd say, like 95% capacity. It's not to say that there's certain I'm booked out like for certain time slots, or training availabilities are kind of far booked out, but there are pockets that open up here and there or sometimes can work. So if you are interested, let's talk. It might make sense. It might not.
It might be a little bit. You
might have to wait a little bit to get in, but right now, I usually can make it work, with whatever your schedule is and stuff like that. But I am almost at capacity as far as how many students I could take on right now.
I mean, that's awesome though. That's a great place to be.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you're really busy, and it's fuck, but also yeah. Well, yeah. Cool, man. I feel like we covered a lot of ground. Was there anything that we didn't talk about that maybe was worth mentioning? I don't know. Just open floor right now.
Yeah, no, I think we didn't get to talk too much about actually producing music.
Yeah,
any of the weeds. It was kind of, I don't we
could do that another time. We could listen to some music or something.
Yeah, just check out my Spotify, Beatport, Track Source. I got a bunch of music coming out. I'm pretty stoked about, which is nice. And yeah,
we got one last question. So we started with your first concert, but I do a wrap up, which is, what was your favorite concert, most game changing, impactful show that you went to, where you walked away and were like, wow, that was damn.
Yeah,
it's a toughie. It's normally a thing.
Yeah, that's so. Oh man,
you've also played a ton of shows.
Yeah, so I think I think I went to a really cool Guar show at the House of Blues once, but I've seen Guar. If you're familiar with Guar,
I'm not familiar with Guar.
So Guar, it's they're a kind of a metal punk hardcore band from the 80s. They have like these crazy like theatrical like monster costumes that they wear.
Okay.
And they bring people on the crowd
That's cool.
on the stage, and they get eaten by monsters and worms, and like they
what?
like chop people's heads off, and it sprays blood everywhere. Guar is always, and just like I've seen them a bunch of times. They play at Riot Fest every year, but the House of Blues show, which I think was like 2013, that was a really good one, just because it was like upfront and personal. But like that was just like from a theatrical standpoint, that was really cool. Nine Inch Nails at Riot Fest was 2017 was really. I can't remember. I'm way off on the dates on that. They played a handful of times, but they're probably like one of my favorite bands. And like the Riot Fest set they did, like I was like the songs they played were like it tugged on the soul in the right time in the right place, like where I was at, and it just like it was a very like. And just like the execution of the music and the songs, that was really cool. But those are kind of generic. But I'm a sucker for some Guar.
No,
9 Inch Nails,
I don't think they were generic. I've never seen 9 Inch Nails. I'm excited for the new Tron that's going to be composed by 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
Also, Riot Fest coming up this year looks pretty good. It's the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guar. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
I don't know how I've missed that for so long. But I feel like you're into like theatrical, weird, like kind of like body horror or some shit.
I am. Yeah, that's definitely like I don't know if you want to call it like a guilty pleasure, maybe, but maybe it is like I'm just a fan of like the theatrical side of shows. Like the more like it's instead of like when the music is good, you don't need to like put on a show, so to speak. But if you are going to like, I think I find it entertaining. Whether there's dancers, there's some kind of show, there's cool visuals, there's cool stuff happening.
Yeah,
I think that's like what makes like it can take a musical experience to the next level.
On a philosophical level, like people that are a little weird off the beaten path, like. I resonate with those people. I might not like look just off the beaten path or whatever, but like I just feel like there's something, I don't know, amazing about people just like showing whatever colors they want to show. And I don't know, I feel like you champion that in a way. I mean, just even the mohawk is kind of a statement of like, fuck it, dude, I'm doing me.
Yeah.
Is that just from like a young age that it was like in there?
I don't know, like I can't. I think maybe just like my parents are always pretty cool and pretty like they're accepting of whatever like decisions I made along the way. And so I think that this like it led me to kind of like it allowed me to kind of lead a creative life, you know, and like finding like ways like through music to express myself or to get stuff that's in here out in the world in one way or another. I think that's just like it's just part of it, I guess. So
no, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
shout out your parents.
Yeah.
Did you flick them off? Is that what you did?
I don't know what I did there.
Like, yeah, fuck you, but I love you. No. All right, cool, man. Well, fucking thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for having me in your studio. Yeah, guys, if you made it this far, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Peace.
Woo. Yo, what's up, guys? This is your host, Jerry. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's someone you'd like to see on the show, leave a comment below. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, we'd appreciate it if you leave a review and hit that 5-star rating. Thank you for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.